the industry needs to know. We need to know. We should look at those guys and just value them the way they should be valued, and also like build that confidence in them that they're not just like the guy, the stereotypes about the plumber, showing their butt crack, a dumb guy. Like we are experienced professionals that do way more than like any single trade does.
They're heroes, right? It's a job, but they don't have to go save the day, but they get to save the day.
I understand that we're in a data-driven world. I understand that we can make a lot of decisions with data. But when we start reducing everything to numbers, that also lessens culture.
To train something effectively, you kind of got to have an SOP in place. Like otherwise, like if you want to make chocolate chip cookies the same way over and over again, you got to have a recipe. Because a lot of times they look a lot like this, right? They're like on a napkin or something like that.
A lot of our guys are using YouTube for a training mechanism to go change a shower cartridge that is troubling them, which is fantastic because they're utilizing a resource. But the life training that we're not providing our associates is the reason why retention is so hard.
Training is broken. People don't have the attention span to sit on something that's 20 minutes long. You need things that are
on-site technician, mentor, training, evaluator, and now coordinator.
Well, now that you're mentioning your name, your last name, I remember that we got connected via Guillermo, which is about to join us too. So I want to welcome you to the group here. I hope that you will find our conversations useful for you, and also we would love for you to contribute in any way you can. You're based in Canada, right?
That's correct. We're up in Edmonton at the moment.
Yeah, we'd love to hear how you guys do property management and facilities management in Canada. I'm sure that there's great things to learn there too.
Okay.
Yeah. Our main topic for today is keeping employees engaged beyond compensation. So I wanted to start actually with you, right? If you're okay with that, just kind of share what are some great things that you guys do to keep your employees engaged over there and expand employee tenure. And also tell us a little bit about the turnover rates out there. Down south from you, they're pretty significant, I should say, if not concerning.
Well, yeah, turnover rate has always been a problem within our industry. I mean, at the moment, our turnover rate seems to be increasing a bit, but historically, Boardwalk's been very good at retaining their talent. I've been here for almost 16 years, and I'm 48th on the list of seniority. So we've got a lot of people been here longer than me. One of the biggest things I think that holds on to our staff is the stability of the work. I mean, we never run out of it. We endeavor to make sure that all of our staff are well trained, well supported. A couple of years ago, we kind of revamped our whole hiring process, which ensured that not only were we getting the people that could talk the talk, they could walk the walk, proving it within our in-house training center. They would actually go through various modules, plumbing, electrical, what have you, where we could identify where they were strong, where they needed help, provide that help where possible, and then we'd get them out into the field.
What do you say that what type of role culture plays into employee retention?
It's everything. It's absolutely everything. Without a supportive culture, we'd be burning through staff like crazy. And of course, onboarding is very, very expensive. And having people that know the buildings, that are familiar with their quirks, is absolutely essential. So it's very key that we hold on to them.
I would also like for you to elaborate a little bit on a culture, because I think, this is it could be like a buzzword, many times people use culture like in a generic way, but then culture is so many things. It's really not just one single thing. And then corporate culture, versus site culture, could be two completely different things. And then how do we connect both? So what are some things that you want to point out on culture that are proving to be successful for your group?
Well, one thing that I always like to highlight for our maintenance staff is that they're the heroes, right? They get to they don't have to. It's a, it's a job, but they don't have to go save the day, but they get to save the day, right? They get to go into people's homes, very personal experience, interact with the tenants, solve their problems, and walk away a legend. And that job satisfaction, that promoting that culture within the team is very important because otherwise it's just a job.
I just wanted to stay one for one more minute or two. You said that they get to, they don't have to. To me, that's kind of like a mindset and a choice that the individual makes, right?
Yes.
I've seen employees of the company. So let me just say this, and a story. It's a real story. I was invited to a company conference, industry conference held by a certain company. And it was in a beautiful state of California, Southern California, one of the best climates in the world. And then I was so excited and so incredibly happy to be there as a guest. And at the same time, I saw employees of that particular company that organized the event, which had like their travel cover for everything paid for just to be there. They act like they had to be there. In other words, they weren't thrilled to be there. And that kind of made me, in a way, made me sad, but in another way I said, you know what, like that's a matter of choice. Like that's their choice that they're feeling miserable, like they have to be there. I'm excited and I'm gonna stay excited. So I think that's very telling, right? So how back to the question that I had for you, how do you as a company, as a group, or you personally kind of like influence that type of mind shift, or how do you help people thinking, hey, I get to do this, I don't have to do it, but I'm here, I get to do it, like this is exciting for me.
Well, that's something reflected top down within our company from our CEO, who you can catch on site rolling paint with everybody else at the end of the month, down to the leaders and site leaders. They really push that initiative. They kind of embody that spirit, which makes it a lot easier to enforce that culture. And without that top down approach, it's pretty hard to maintain.
Well, thank you. I know that we got right into it, right? While you were introducing yourself, so you started fast and furious. So thank you for sharing all of that. Craig, any thoughts on culture and some specifics when it comes to culture that actually help with this employee engagement?
Well, I'm out of the game, right, for the time being, as far as being on site. But I mean, culture is always an important key in maintaining and keeping morale there. Um, to me, keeping employees in a place where they feel like they're contributing is always the key. People want to feel like, especially younger generation. One of the things they talked about, and I don't know which you remember, Gen Y, X, Z, whichever one it was. One of the biggest things about the incoming workforce is this desire to make a difference. And so finding ways to let them think, feel, or actually make a difference is a key to it. So when an employee believes that they're making a difference in whatever is going on, whether that's something for the property or for the budget of the property or for the resident that they're servicing, that when they continue to feel that they're making a difference, that keeps them engaged, especially the younger generation. Not so much marching orders anymore. My day and age, it was marching orders, get out, do your thing, do what you're told. Today, the culture is very much different, right? And so depending on who your leadership is, if leadership's like me from the marching orders days, and you've got a guy who's just started out and they want to make a difference, and you're cracking the whip on pick up poo and get grounds done, And instead of saying, just think about how much better our residents feel when they come home at the end of the day, how much of a difference you're making by picking up poo. And just the difference in how you approach that can can impact how those employees feel.
Yeah, any specifics, like any specific, I guess, tricks or tools in your tool bag that you learn that they really work, especially with a newer generation coming in, because we're looking around the virtual table. We have a great mix of some of us, they have been around for a number of decades, and we also have like a newer generation too. And there's others that probably, if I look around the room, they're not represented yet, like in this conversation, in today's conversation. But I'd love to hear, any specific things that actually really worked, that were very impactful.
Words of encouragement. So it's not hard to give words of encouragement and teachable moments and teachable moments that are done in a manner that is uplifting to the employee. I think those are the two biggest things. But words of encouragement, um, shoot, even in my current job, just recently, I was so involved and got into doing some things that I forgot some communication pieces that I was supposed to be taking care of that left a couple of people behind. And, had to get called out on the carpet just a little bit to remember to include people. But then once you do that, how people get re-engaged with what's going on. So words of encouragement and teachable moments.
Thank you for sharing that. I wanted to say that we're changing a little bit the format of our conversation. So I want to bring more technology into the conversation. And you're part of companies that create technology that influences facilities and maintenance. And we also have here today Danny and Guillermo. So we're gonna get to both of you and get your thoughts on this, how technology impacts and how what are some like certain things, particularities, ways that we could influence culture leveraging technology. Before going to you both, I want to go to another operator, Stephen Fry. You've been on a few meetings, sir. I know that you haven't had like a whole lot of opportunity to speak up. I want to get to you next and get your thoughts on that.
Thanks, Adrian. So some of the things, sorry, I'm getting a call. Get that. Some of the things that we've been doing, I've been at ResProp for about a year. It's third party. It's not always easy to be able to gather and get everybody all at the same time to engage. Back in March, we did Maintenance Appreciation Week, which actually kind of helped show, and I know it's only once a year, but it helped show maintenance. Hey, we care. You guys are the rock stars. I've been doing this for 10 years, like almost 11 years. And that's the first time I've ever done something like that, or I've ever been part of something like that. So for Dallas, we actually took every single maintenance person, men, women, all the way from groundskeeper all the way up to maintenance supervisors, went out on a boat on Lake Louisville and went fishing, had some, drinks, had some food, all that stuff, just kind of get that camaraderie. Everybody share phone numbers, get to know your neighbors. If you need help with something, if you have a question, they might be able to help you instead of calling, somebody from corporate like me. I feel like that actually did work. I can't give you the exact specifics of what retention was before versus after that, but I feel like that did have a big impact. Some of the other stuff that we're doing is just investing back in the employees. So it's like once a quarter, instead of just doing your average, hey, this is your safety training, let's go over, how to use a ladder, things like that. That seems to kind of help too. But as far as, diving into AI and other things like that, I think, I don't know, I'd love to hear what everyone else has to say.
Definitely appreciate the feedback. Danny, I want to go to you next, and then I want to get someone from the up and coming generation. That's gonna be you, Jack. After so you're gonna be right after Danny. Danny, welcome. I think it's your first time with us here, so excited to have you on. Tell us a little bit about yourself, right? Introduce yourself to the group, please, and also share some thoughts on how technology can be used to leverage improving company culture and also engagement levels.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. It's nice to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm Danny Black. I am the Chief Revenue Officer at AppWork. I've spent a lot of years in the industry, primarily on the supplier side. And so AppWork is a maintenance technology, and this is kind of right up our alley. One of the things that we've found with a lot of our clients is consistent recognition and utilizing technology to help provide that recognition. So within our software, we track maintenance metrics, maintenance team members metrics specifically. So managers, supervisors, property managers, regionals can all really understand like how are people performing and give them that kind of daily recognition, or to Craig's point, actually, to those words of encouragement, that critical feedback that's necessary. So if there's a gap, they have understanding of that gap, and you can get them the training that they need so everyone can up level. The other aspect that we utilize and a lot of our clients love is we have gamification built in to our technology. So every time that Stephen, I think you were just talking about, was it Stephen? Sorry. Who was just on?
Stephen?
Steve, it was Stephen. Okay. Yeah, you were just talking about the maintenance appreciation week, right? And what we've tried to do is capture the feeling of those maintenance appreciation weeks and kind of make that a year-long thing for the maintenance teams. We found that within technology, especially leasing technology, you're able to capture metrics and data and run leasing contests for all of your leasing agents, and your maintenance team members, everyone on site, they're all seeing this and seeing how everyone else is kind of getting continually recognized and have these fun contests. So we wanted to bring that to the maintenance team. So we have ways to earn points for all of the work that team members are doing. We have ways to earn badges. And all ties into the metrics and the good work that they're doing. So we're recognizing them for not only the quantity of work, but also the quality, right? We're tracking resident feedback as well. So they get a pat on the back every single time that they do something. And it forces a little more recognition throughout the year, not just that one time a year. And also the competition. People are excited to compete with each other on these metrics and stuff too.
Oh, that's great, Danny. I wanted to ask you if you have some data, like if you're tracking, if you have some metrics that are actually showing this, improvement, or like some stories of like actual stories, of what happened in a particular situation when someone got a badge, someone got recognized.
Great question. So a couple of things that come to mind. One, when we first initially launched the badge program, we had a new client, and we were actually out with a regional maintenance supervisor. We were launching some other properties for them, and we were out with them. And he got a phone call from one of his maintenance supervisors on site at like 9 o'clock at night. And typically that's not a good phone call, right? That's usually there's a fire, there's a flood, something's going wrong. Well, this phone call was, hey, I just need you to call me Guru from now on. And it was, he had earned the maintenance guru badge in AppWork, and he was so excited that he wanted to call his supervisor and say like, hey, you got to call me Guru now because I just earned this badge. So those are some fun anecdotal, but actually we've also done some studies too within our client base on actual metrics for retention. And industry standard metrics are 38% turnover on technicians across the board. That's from, I believe, NMHC put those numbers out. AppWork clients their turnover is only 26%. So we have, a pretty hefty difference there between industry standard and what our AppWork clients are seeing for maintenance turnover. So we're actually seeing results, not just in the anecdotal data, but in the hard numbers as well. Oh, you're on mute, Adrian.
You're on Zoom. If you're at least one time on mute during a conversation. So actually, I think that NMHC numbers might not show the full picture, because I have on good note from very large operators. They're sharing with me that their turnover numbers are actually in a 90% range. And again, like some companies are doing better than others. I just think that you're really looking at average. Everybody will honestly share what their numbers are. I think 70s at least 70s, but I think that 80 to 90%, it's kind of like general rule for most of the large operators. It's just not a truth that it's very like easy to share with others. So thank you for sharing all of that. Now, Jake, before I go to you, just wanted to kind of give the next two uh, the next two guests heads up. Tim, I'm gonna go to you after that, and then after Tim, we're gonna bring Guillermo in. He's also the CEO of another company that's building great technology for multifamily, to hear his take. So Jake, the floor is yours.
Yeah. So from my position right now, being a multi-site supervisor, a lot of I have to rely on my team to take care of their like daily job duties. So I was kind of taught early on to deputize, not delegate. So things I need done, like actually sitting down and giving the responsibility to this person and having that be their like niche for the, whether it's like the work orders or trash or whoever kind of has the passion for that within their job role, it's really deputizing them and having them responsible for that. So when something's needed, like, hey, trash pickup needs to be done, they have the ability just to call the vendor and do that because they understand the logic behind what would call for trash pickup, or, hey, we need to bill back the resident on this. And then that way they have a little bit of ownership in what they're doing, and it changes the way they process things. Instead of just being told what to do, they take a little bit more of a chip on their shoulder when it just comes to the day-to-day processes. And then it's, the trust and verify. I think it's kind of the hot word going around right now, is just making sure people are, that the people who are delegated to, you're not micromanaging, but just making sure it did get done correctly. And then that's been my successful. That's how we've been successful across our sites right now. We've gotten pretty good praises for our lease ups this year.
I love that you're using the term deputizing. Something that you borrow from law enforcement. I'm a big believer that there's a lot of value into what law enforcement and military does, and also professional sport teams. I think they're as far as discipline and results, these areas show way better results than an average business. And I think that just learning from them and actually using terms from them, enforces, the value of the employee, and also shows better results. So I think that's awesome. It's the first time I'm hearing this. Tim, you're up next, sir.
Thank you, Adrian. Good afternoon, everybody. I love the deputizing terminology. We use that a lot here at Avenue 5 in Colorado. And it's also empowerment. And when you empower your associates to make mistakes and understanding that everything is fixable, it's if they're not trying new things, they're not going to learn new things. And that's how you keep them engaged. We do a lot of quarterly in-person meetings where we go through a lot of content, but we also go through a lot of hands-on stuff. With the technology that coming down the pipe, we show a lot of those things. Next week we happen to be going to one of our suppliers for hands-on mitigation equipment, learning what the mitigation equipment does, why it does what it does, and why we use it at those opportune moments. Getting the hands-on things, keep them engaged. It also keeps them off of their phones. When every one of us who's been in a meeting, we've seen the guys, they're answering their phones, they're looking at their phones. We hope that they're looking at work orders and Yardi and RealPage and things like that. But are they looking at TikTok? Are they looking at YouTube? So keeping them engaged with stuff that keeps their minds active. A lot of maintenance guys get tired because we work a lot of long hours. And when we joke about having mandatory fun. Nobody loves mandatory fun. Everybody wants an invitation to go to fun, but nobody says, hey, you're going to Topgolf on Tuesday and you're going to like it. So, last year, I'm part of the Association of Metro Denver. Last year, we invited Adrian to come speak at our maintenance appreciation breakfast. This year, we invited Paul Rhodes to come speak at our maintenance appreciation breakfast. Getting guys like my team in front of legends like that and having, 5-10 minute sidebar conversations also energizes them. So it's deputizing, energizing, and empowering.
Yeah, so I appreciate the invite last year. I wanted to share with everyone that this was very powerful. It was an event dedicated just to maintenance professionals. So we had a room full of them, and I actually talk about stuff like technology for maintenance, what's coming up and everything. it was an honor for me to share that with the group, but also shows me that they're doing great things out there in Denver. So keep up the great work. And I'll come back anytime you will, you'll want me back. But you have a great, you have a great one this year in Paul Rose for sure. He's an
Well,
amazing speaker. Yeah.
yes, you're always welcome, Adrian.
Thank you. So before going to Guillermo, just want to get the next two guests prepped, Wes, and then Vinny. We're gonna go to you two next after Guillermo. Floor is yours, G.
I think it's interesting that you have both Danny and I on here because it's like I really admire what AppWorks been doing from a perspective of just the badging and the rewarding and all those things because like there's the real lack of that in the industry. One thing that we started years ago, really, and again, what caught my ears when I heard Sean talking about it in a podcast somewhere, and I was like, yeah, that's what we got to do. A couple years ago, we started collecting thank you notes. I know that sounds silly, but like along with the CSAT scores that are all after every single thing, we actually ask for a thank you note from the resident and or the customer. And then we take all those thank you notes, we push those back out to everybody, all the managers and leaders every week. So they get a week of thank you notes. And thank you notes are kind of different than just the CSAT score and whatever, because they mean something, they came from somebody. And then every quarter we build posters of all the thank you notes that were given to the teams, and we send it out to all of our customers. And they've got, they have their quarterly meetups, their team ups, safety meetings, whatever. They put it up on the wall. There's a permanent, like every quarter, they get a whole poster of thank you notes, and it's just something to constantly remind them of the people that they're serving. And there is gratitude, like despite all the complaints that are out there and all the things that people complain about, there are people that appreciate the work that they do. So aligned with what AppWorks doing, whatever we can do to make gratitude easy to convey, like more of it, because the world, we all know the world needs more gratitude, right? And so whatever we can do to push that out there and put that out there, make it a formalized document that sits on the wall, makes people feel good. And then, we have like a number of our customers do, because there's ratings and all those things, the way our product works. And they'll, have every 2 weeks, they'll have a call of the week or a session of the week, and they'll rally around that and see what happens, or like, and just to create those learning moments, like one of the guys was talking about earlier, that can be mobilized. Like sometimes, people make a decision in real time that everyone should understand is within their power to make that same decision. So having that all available to share that narrative and that story, first of all, on a semi-weekly basis or semi-monthly basis, and then having the formal, like permanent on the wall memory of gratitude is something that we really are passionate about. Because like, and Danny used the same words, like we think of all the people out there as experts. They're all experts. They're all pros. They're not techs. They're not maintenance people. They're experts as far as we're concerned. And that's why they're in that job. And they should get that kind of recognition. And that should be institutional. The recognition should be institutional, not just something that happens at a hug and chug, every quarter.
Uh, yeah, great feedback. And G, and also great to have you, great to have Danny, great to have Greg. You all to represent the technology side. I think it's for us not to ignore anymore because that's just, our industry is not gonna, just like the world, is not gonna function any longer. And we need technology desperately to help, not to replace our people, but to actually, make it easier. And I wanted to
Yeah, like just follow on that, Adrian, like on that thought, like I think as technologists, like all we really do think, or how we like to think about it, is that it's really an evolution from screwdriver to power drill. And that's how simple it can be thought of. And you wouldn't take a job where you're expected to use screwdrivers only. Like imagine that, right? Go to a job, okay, screwdrivers, hammers, nails, don't screw up, do it faster, don't get hurt, don't cut yourself. That'd be a terrible job to take and expect to hit the numbers that everyone expects you to take. And so like we really think about it as like screwdriver to power drill. And that also means that we understand exactly the problems, or we've got a good hunch. We work with you to understand the problems you're seeking to solve. Because like dropping whatever, something else that you don't need, it's just noise, it's distraction. There's a lot of work to be done.
Totally in agreement there. And I wanted to share this with the group, right? Because I think a lot of times we're just thinking, hey, we don't like get the respect we deserve. I think that also respect has to be, earned and then kind of like our people think, hey, everybody's looking down to us. But here's a story that I have. It's a very real story and was very impactful. I thought about it the entire day. So my video editing team is based in Romania, and my senior editor works on a project that we do together with a maintenance academy, and it's basically a docu-series highlighting top professional maintenance professionals in multifamily. And then he was finishing editing like an episode today, and he's like, I can't believe how powerful is what these guys are saying, these individuals are saying, how smart they are, how articulate they are. By the way, every single episode, I take them to a model apartment and they do a bang up job on showing me the apartment. They will sell me the apartment. If I was a prospect, they could sell me like this. And this is not something that's in their job description. They just know so well the product that they're maintaining, and they're so proud of what they do that they could. I always ask them, did you ever think about like switching to do leasing? You could sell apartments. So I think that in itself, for someone that's never like been in the United States and never learn, just like we do, from experience, never been exposed to multifamily, to say that, I think it's incredibly powerful. And probably I'm gonna have to do a LinkedIn post about it, because like the industry needs to know. We need to know. We should look at those guys and just value them the way they should be valued, and also like build that confidence in them that they're not just like the guy, the stereotypes about the plumber, showing their butt crack, and being like like a dumb guy in a comic series, or like a comedy movie. Like we are experienced professionals that do way more than like any single trade does. A maintenance professional has to be professional at electrical, plumbing, HVAC, 4, 5, 6 different trades, not just like an electrician that only has to be proficient in that part, that trade. But I felt like I needed to share with a group here, because that was for me very powerful. Wes, you're up next, sir.
Yeah, hello, thank you. Yeah, ditto what everybody has said so far. With with GMH, it's a little different in the sense that we are extremely far flung. There's we're always kind of buying and building new properties, so we're somewhere in the neighborhood of 23 to 25 properties across the entire country. Like there's only 2 states, not counting the four or the 3 properties that are right around headquarters in Philadelphia. There's only like 2 other states that have more than one property to them. So I'm in Boston and Tampa and Arkansas and Lincoln, Nebraska. So kind of the group maintenance mentality and the ability to have a hug and chug, like Guillermo said. Like the maintenance guys would love to have a hug and chug, but there's no way GMH is paying all the maintenance guys to travel from California, Boston, Texas, and everywhere else to meet up for a hug and chug. So, yeah, the maintenance supervisors, their staff answers to them, and they answer directly to the individual GM at that property. And that GM answers up through the operational chain. Myself and my number 2 are the corporate maintenance. End of story. So, we try to just basically communicate on a regular basis, but also let the maintenance supervisors know that we're there for them. Like we can't necessarily dictate solutions, but we can find solutions for them. To some level, I can dictate solutions. If I get a hold of, my boss, who's the VP of operations, say this needs to happen, it'll happen. But I try not to function that way. So, I mean, like, it has seemed to work, because just like this example, just the other day, one of the maintenance supervisors at our properties called me with what he considered to be a serious problem with some potential bid rigging going on with his GM. He called me before he called anyone in his chain of command. So it's having open lines of communications to somebody like myself. They all have my cell phone. They know they can text me or or message me or call me at any time, and I always answer unless, of course, I'm sleeping. But um, so but on top of that, because each property is like its own little island to some extent, the maintenance supervisors at times can feel overlooked from the larger corporate GMH. So I just do little things. Like I have always sent them all a Christmas present, and it's like an actual present that they can use. Like one year I sent them, are you all familiar with the Write in the Rain notebooks? They're like completely waterproof. I found them when I was in the service. Like you can run the things through the washing machine and they come out and the stuff that's written on the page is still there. They don't fall apart. They're fantastic. I sent them all one of those, a pen that's waterproof ink that'll work with them really well, and one of these newer carpenter pencils that are out nowadays that have the heavy duty lead inserts. They're really great. If you haven't run across it, gone are the days of taking the old style carpenter pencil that's all square and doesn't have a pocket clip or anything like that and having to sharpen it. And so and I think in the grand scheme of things, I think the whole package of those three things cost like $40 a maintenance supervisor. So I sent it all to each one of them as a just a simple, easy Christmas present with a personalized card that they all cards looked alike, but I hand wrote each one of them a note. And it's a tool that they can use every day. But so like last year, I sent them all Kanga coolers, the Kanga 12-pack coolers. You all see those? You know what I'm talking about? They don't require any ice. They're actually brilliant. You put a cold 12-pack in them, and it'll keep that 12-pack cold for at least 6 hours. And I don't know about you, but I can drink a 12-pack in 6 hours or less easy. So I'm not drinking warm beer. Uh, so it's just little things like that to let them know that there is somebody at corporate that's got their back, has understands what they're going through, and is always there to talk to, and thinks about them from time to time. At least enough to send them a simple, "Hey, thanks for being there," kind of Christmas present.
Thanks, Wes. This is powerful. And Vinny, before I go to you, Steve, if you're available to switch the camera back on, I'd like to go to you after Vinny. If you are, if not, no worries. So Vinny, the floor is yours, sir.
I think this is a great topic, and I think also what's important is where does culture begin? Because the problem is sometimes where it begins is not where it ends. It is also where it ends. Because if it's built in a corporate office and it goes just to that corporate office and the surrounding properties that are around it. So I'm with Bizzuto. We have over 450 properties. It's difficult to retain the same culture up where they're based in Maryland as it is down here where I am in Florida. It's been, the culture for them is great. They have a very high regard for, employee retention, resident satisfaction, and all that stuff. But I find it, and this was also true in other companies that I've worked for, is that the further you get away from the corporate office, the less consistent the culture is. So how do you retain that culture as you grow and expand? Because everybody's always so worried about expanding and they want to do it so rapidly. To maintain that culture, you start it with a tight-knit group, right? It's easy to keep it solid with a tight-knit group. Once you start spreading out the tentacles of that, it starts getting watered down or, whatever you want to call it. And I think that's really the bigger problem, because as everybody tries to get bigger, and also the other side of that is that, there's being jobs that are cut. We're being asked to do more with less employees. So the culture could be within that one person, but it's not getting out to the rest of the people because there's maybe only one person under them, or they're there all by themselves, like I am here. I have 184 units here by myself. So the culture is here, but it's like I have my own, and do I have the time to really spread it to those people that I see all the time while I'm trying to get everything done? I'll be honest and say that it's almost an impossible task. One more thing I want to say that might be a little controversial to some of the other people is this new age of everything being put to numbers. I understand data is very important. I understand that we're in a data-driven world. I understand that we can make a lot of decisions with data. But when we start reducing everything to numbers, that also lessens culture in some ways. And you can agree or disagree, but that's my piece on that. Because once everything gets reduced to a number, it's not about just the people. You have to apply those numbers to the people, but it's kind of like when you go work for a bigger company or you use a bigger vendor, like I'll just throw Brightview out there for landscaping. I feel like you don't have that priority because you just become a number. There's other bigger companies in multifamily that same thing. Like when you get into like, and I'm not putting anybody under the bus or anybody, like a Greystar, they're a humongous company. I personally don't think that I could work there because it's a big company. I don't know how far out that spreads. And when you just become a number, you don't really become about the culture and about what we're here to do and accomplish. It's very hard to relay that message to people above. So we have to be those people. We have to be the ambassadors of that every time that we're here on the property, every time that we're in a meeting, every time that we're at a conference, every time we go to a trade show. These things that we are involved in because we love the industry and we want to bring about some change, we have to be at the forefront of it and we have to keep pushing. And that's why I appreciate Adrian and everybody here and what we do, because I think this is, like I said, it's always a great platform to have a voice and hear from people from all over that we all have the same problems, and the solution's somewhere in there, and I hope we can find it. That's basically, I don't really have much else to say about that.
Yeah, numbers are a consequence of great work or maybe not so, up to par work that people do. So if we're just like looking at numbers as a meaning to an end, that's all we're focusing on, and we're not really looking at how are we getting there, who's gonna influence those numbers. I think that's the wrong way. So I couldn't agree with you more, Vinny. And I know this comes from the heart, and it's not easy to share because it could be deemed, I don't know, maybe controversial, but honestly, without people, you can't drive any type of numbers, right? So focus on people; they're gonna drive the numbers for you. So thank you for sharing that. Now, in a time that we have left, I would like to focus on technology as tool to improve employee retention. Mark Hooker speaks about this, a lot, and then he shows that our industry is the one that trains the least amount compared with with other industries. So he also says teams that don't train don't win, and it's true. Look at the professional teams. How could you expect a team to win? To score any victories if you don't train them. So that I want to put that in context of technology that it's been built or we could build, or what's the future like in using this technology to use training as leverage to increase resident retention, and not resident but employee rather. I wanted to also say that probably we're kind of all in agreement here, or most of us at least, that the hands-on training is the best. But I look around the room, we can't have 100 teams, we can't have 10 jacks. We're gonna have to find ways to just kind of leverage that. So we're gonna have to supplement the in-person out there. And to me, technology is the way if it's done the proper way. The current way of learning through LMSs, having blanket training and handing your new employees a list of classes that they had to learn just enough to pass the test so they could forget it the very next day. I think it's super outdated and it's about to die. I think I know what's going to replace it. Some say it's micro learning. I don't believe that's actually, I think that's also a thing of the past. What is going to be deemed pretty soon because people are going to prefer to have a conversation and ask a particular question, get a particular answer to a piece of technology versus watching a 7-minute video for maybe 30 seconds that they needed from that video. Video is not searchable, unfortunately. So you're gonna have to spend the entire 5 to 7 minutes to get your answer. Sometimes technology could give you that like in like 30 seconds. You could read it and move on. So with that being said, I want to go to Jake first. And Jake, share your thoughts, please, about technology and how do you envision the future and technology being leveraged as a way to train people so we could increase this employee retention.
Yeah, this is actually an interesting topic because I think, in my opinion, I can agree with Vincent on this one. And I would say, I think I would rather technology free up our time so we could do that in-person training, which I know can be more difficult, but I'm to believe that training is just so much more impactful in person. I think a lot of the times when you're sitting down in front of a computer, like you said, you're distracted by emails coming through or phones and stuff like that. So and a lot of the times what I see is where we make advancements in AI and like that kind of thing on the properties where it saves us time instead of that money being wrapped back into like the employees to give us more time to have those quarterly meetings or those quarterly trainings. It's just kind of taken off the top as revenue and put back. And it's said, you can't touch this anymore. It's like once that money's kind of made, it's not given back, which I know is the name of the game for most of our ownerships and stuff. But if it was valuable enough that we could prove that the in-person training was truly helping our like employees and getting that in-person touch and stuff, and we could retain that money for that, I feel like that might be a better like avenue, is allowing AI and technology to allow more free time for that aspect. How I would prefer to see it.
Got it. I want to go to Guillermo next. Then Tim, I want to hear your thoughts, and then I want to go to Danny because technology is present here, and we'd love for our partners from the technology side of things to just kind of share their thoughts because they're going to play a role, or they probably already are.
So specifically around culture and how technology can reinforce culture or help?
No, training, and then
training.
Training that's technology driven. How could that
Sure.
contribute to
So I think
increase retention?
what's interesting about training piece is that like to train something effectively, you kind of got to have an SOP in place. Like otherwise, like if you want to make chocolate chip cookies the same way over and over again, you got to have a recipe. And like there's a lack of SOPs even available for documentation because a lot of times they look a lot like this, right? They're like on a napkin or something like that. And so I think that and quite literally documenting an SOP is actually a technical innovation, and putting it in one place, making it available to everybody. So I'm getting at is that I think that for us to be able to train using technology, we've got to capture some of this stuff that's out there in I'll say the legacy or the vintage brains that are out there, so we can begin to train on these things. Like if the knowledge hasn't been captured, it's practically impossible to train on it. So using technology to capture that knowledge and make it available so that it can be trainable. We are kind of into this world where it's on-demand information, where like people are, I mean, you may not know it, but your team members are actively on Reddit seeking help from the general population how to fix things. They are looking on YouTube. They are doing all this stuff all themselves because that's kind of the generation that they are. So somehow there's a balance between giving them guidance for 80% of the work that they're doing and letting them figure out the other 20 themselves. Those are the kind of people that you want to hire because this is a do-it job. So from the training perspective, it's like, how do you begin to, that's the part of the completing the work order part. And then there's the following the system part. I think the following the system part is really where we fail from a technology perspective, and getting people an understanding as to why this change helps them make their life a whole lot better and why this works for the client, and all that communication around why, now you used to do it this way, now we're asking you to do it this way, and here's the reason why, and how this is how it's going to make your life better and make it easier. And then when you do that, it's this whole like leading the horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Like if you lead the horse to water that's thirsty and they're compelled to drink, they're going to do it on their own. They're going to want to participate in the training side of things. And then that's going to feed into the culture. That's going to feed into the efficiency. That's going to feed into the way the business is done, and that's going to help them hiring and help them retention. So it really comes down to, kind of close it out, like how can we going to document these existing ways of doing things so that you can train against people against it, so that you can build a culture and set expectations. If it's all like freestyle, there's no hope.
Thanks, Jay. That's a great angle. I love that you're sharing that. Tim?
Training for me is tough. Because we talked on previous calls about return on your investment in training. When I'm investing in an associate to get their EPA or CPO, and there's no return on the investment for me immediate. And we are, as operators, we are the fast food junkies of multifamily because we want immediate satisfaction. And when you invest in an associate for a CPO or EPA and then they leave for that extra 50 cents an hour, because that they're also looking for immediate satisfaction and the fast food junkie. Because now that they've got a CPO, they've got 3 letters behind their name and they can go get a job that is 75 cents more an hour, but they haven't even given me, the operator, an opportunity to work with them to give them $1 more an hour. So training programs have to find a happy medium where we are training and retaining, but we're also elevating. Because if you're not elevating, everybody on the maintenance tech, maintenance supervisor, they're looking to elevate. And they're not looking to elevate because they want to elevate. They're looking to elevate for that 50, 75, $1 an hour increase, but they're thinking so short-sighted. Part of the training has to be some life training so that it's not so short-sighted. Because again, to G's point, a lot of our guys are using YouTube for a training mechanism to go change a shower cartridge that is troubling them, which is fantastic because they're utilizing a resource. But the life training that we're not providing our associates is the reason why retention is so hard. Because, we've all been on a job site where somebody's walked up and said, "Hey, I'll pay you $5 more an hour if you leave with me right now." And boom, that guy is gone. But he doesn't realize he's thinking $5 more an hour. But oh God, I just lost 7 days of vacation time, 12 days of sick time, and I'm starting all the way over. But I got $5 more an hour. So there's a lot more training that has to go into place rather than just the physical on the job training. It's life training that has to happen.
Yeah, very powerful order, Tim. Danny, any thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. Couple things to Tim's point on the life training side. I think the soft skills as well as the hard skills are equally important. There's, I think there's a lot less resources out there for some of the soft skills than there are for the hard skills, at least easily accessible. There's a ton of technical information out there that you can find on YouTube. I'm super handy and go and learn everything from YouTube University myself. But I think like focusing on some of those, like how to interview well and how to get a promotion when you want it and how to, present yourself well on the job and what you should be looking for in your next step, those types of trainings, and making them digestible. I think one of the things that, especially with the newer generations, that we see is training is broken. People don't have the attention span to sit on something that's 20 minutes long. You need things that are short, 5 minutes and under, quick hits. They can keep going if they want, but they need to be in control of those things. We at AppWork, actually, we launched a program called the Maintenance Academy, and it's completely free. It's on our website, and we're working with top maintenance trainers. So, any of you guys would be amazing to add and come on and be educators for us. But the goal is to just help improve training overall as part of using technology, right, to train. And every piece of content that we put out there is 5 minutes and under. It's both hard skills and soft skills. And eventually, these types of training modules are going to be built into our product. And so a work order surfaces, and We can provide a training playlist so they don't even have to use the app. And where technology comes into play and where things get interesting is that's when you can actually start to understand where your teams need more help. If you're seeing like that people are needing extra help on I don't know, plumbing, for instance, maybe a leaky faucet's giving one particular guy extra trouble. That can be really interesting insights into what needs to happen and how you can provide coachable moments to the team. So I think, you know, technology has a place to sit here. I think that there's a lot of training resources and technology out there that has tried, and most of us have failed at providing training, quite frankly. Even myself, like I can't sit through something that's more than more than half an hour long from a training perspective. I lose my attention. I jump on my phone. App work, we train our clients, and I know you know when you lose someone, right? Their eyes wander, they got to tune back in. And so, you know, we have a big focus too on in-person training for our clients, and just a lot of engagement and consistent engagement. And I think it goes back to creating those cultural moments within the teams, is celebrating the people that are there, and really focus on the individuals and bringing them into the fold and getting them excited to actually receive the training is going to be a huge factor in the success of any training program.
Thanks, Danny. Since we're approaching the top of the hour and we're getting ready to wrap up, I still want to give the remaining of you the voice if you have a few extra minutes left. We have Steven, we have Vinny and Jonathan to share your thoughts on training, technology. How do you see that playing in the future for employee retention? Steven?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think, technology is great. YouTube can be awesome, but it can also teach them something the wrong way, right? I think the whole name of the game here for like techs, how do we make their day easier? Yes, like on the corporate level, yes, we're tracking all their KPIs and everything else. At the end of the day, I'm promoting company culture, but I'm also trying to think, when I was a maintenance tech, when I was a maintenance supervisor, what was the hardest part of my job? How do I make their day easier so that they can do more in that same time frame? And I think that's where AI may come into play in the future. It's like touch a button. Okay, garbage disposal. Never done this before. Bam. This is a tried and true way to do it. 30 seconds. Bam. Got the right information. I'm not going to shock myself. I'm not going to, make a mistake and, not take the cap out if I have a dishwasher or something simple like that. But, I mean, AI is great. I've been using it like for other things. So I would love to see some type of technology, some type of program where it's like maintenance dedicated only, touch a button, here's your answer, things like that. But yeah, as far as what everybody was saying, I think there's a lot of great facts there, a lot of great different opinions on company cultures and different things like that. I just, at the end of the day, it's like build that camaraderie amongst the team. Think from their shoes, what are they looking for? Get to know them as a person. Like in the next 5 years, where do you want? Do you want my job? No, you're happy where you're at? Okay, cool. We could work with that too. And it's hard to do that as you grow. And that's what a lot of other people were saying too. It's really getting on that personal level, getting them to buy in and understand that, you know what I'm saying, you're there for them, that you're going to provide that support. So I know we're running out of time, so I'll let somebody else.
I'm right there with you, and I think specifically talking about AI, that part of the future it might belong to AI agents. I'm seeing some great stuff developing on that end. Jonathan?
Yeah, well, I mean, we see a lot of options out there in terms of technology and training, and lots of idealism being thrown around there. But I mean, it's got to come down to what, Jake's point, buying us time, right? So if we can use the tech to buy us time for, let's say, proper mentorship, because I mean, if we chase down this whole technology for readily available training, that's all well and good. But what I fear is, I don't know, have we all seen Demolition Man, where the cops are standing there with the tablet in front of their face with the instructions on how to interact with the person? We don't want to go that direction. A lot of our maintenance guys are getting these skills handed down for people that are willing to share in person. And I think the tech helping on providing enough financial buffer to allow for things like mentorship teams, training, uh, more hands-on rather than more managers, is going to be where we're going to see the most benefit.
Oh, that's great food for thought right there. Vinny?
Yeah. So, I mean, training, yes, the technology is great. YouTube's great. Like you said, hands-on is really still the best. And because you can't count for those things that are going to happen. Like when you're doing a dishwasher, if you drop the screw and it falls into, and you don't have the screen in the bottom and it goes into the pump there, now you got to look up another video of how to get it out of there, you know? So there's certain things that happen while you're doing things that aren't going to be addressed in every video through technology and stuff like that. And I also think, again, I'm getting like when you get the next generation of our employees, they're coming in because they watched a couple videos. They think that they're already seasoned and they think that they deserve more. So that makes it more difficult to train them because they think they already know it. And, you know, mentoring or shadowing has always been the best way. And then that comes by supervision, right? So whether it's the regional or your service manager or beyond that, the people that know specifically, not specifically, but are better at doing appliances. That's the guy you want to train your new people coming in that don't have that knowledge, or even somebody that's a little weak in that area. And that's what I always try to do, is have my strong guys training the guys that are weak in those areas, and then flip on the other side. So it's very important to cross train and have that sense of, you know, that builds camaraderie as well. It builds a sense that you could count on people, you know, and that's how you, again, that leads to culture as well. You know, all these things are very important. It's so hard in this day and age to get everybody on the same page. So if you can just cross train people and you have to be able to make it relatable. You know, not everybody is from the same background. Some people relate to things totally differently. Sometimes there's a language barrier. Sometimes it's just different ways that people were raised or whatever it's going to be. But we have to address those things and we have to recognize them as well. You know, on our feet, we are asked to do more than so many other industry leaders because we have to wear so many hats at one time. So training is, I think we have to part it with technology, but we have to also have the hands-on. We have to hold people accountable for things. Like I used to say, I used to mentor and shadow the people. I would do it for them in front of them 2 or 3 times, make sure that they're paying attention. And then the fourth time I would go to the same work order, say, okay, now you do it. I'm right here. The other thing we have to do is make people not afraid to ask questions. You're not wrong by not knowing something. You're wrong by not saying that you don't know it, and if you don't want to learn it, or you don't bring up a certain thing at a certain time, that's going to happen once in a while. But it's not a bad thing to say you don't know something. And me, I'm very forthcoming. If I don't know something, I've been doing this for only 9 years, and there's still a lot of stuff I don't know. I'm sure even every one of you, there's something that somebody can teach us along the way. So never be afraid. And I think we have to give empowerment to those people that it's okay to ask questions. And if you don't know something, it's okay. We're here to teach you this. But then you have to make sure that they're paying attention and getting the message. And from there, you know, it's a passion for me, and it's not for everybody else. So it's a tough thing. Training it has to be followed up on too. And it has to always be reinforced. And there's so many parts to it. It's not just showing them, it's letting them do it, knowing when to pull back and let them do it. In the beginning, when I was training, I had a tendency to just jump right in when I thought that, you know, I'll just do it myself because I got to get it done quick. You know, I since changed my approach, and I sit back and let them make the mistakes, you know, because that's how we learn.
Lots to distill out here, but really thank you so much, Vinny, for sharing. I want to wrap up our conversation today from Jonathan's comment. If I had $1 for every new guy coming in flexing his California patch skills, this was all the time we had today. I appreciate. I apologize. We went over, but I really wanted to go one full time around the table and get everybody's take on a training and technology, leveraging technology for training topic. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. I'm gonna send the invite for that particular meeting. Again, grateful to have you all here. Looking forward to our next one. And if we want to be, if you want the change, we want to become the change. So come join the movement back here. Conversations. We're gonna become the change. That's the only way. Take care, you all. Have a great, amazing afternoon.